Zidane Daney, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. Yes, like I promised, we are returning to the freaking Final Fantasy manga. Seriously, if you guys haven't read this, haven't started reading this yet, I'm serious. Go and read it. There's a reason why I did show it some love for the first volume, and now I'm going to be doing a freaking volume review each freaking time. Like, it's not on the level of say Witch Hat Atelier, but it's pretty dang close. I'd say that it's better than the My Hero Academia manga. So yeah, maybe not Vigilantes. It's kind of hard to say, but it's really good. Like seriously. So now that that's out of the way, let's actually start talking about this volume 2, which starts out right where we left off in volume 1, with all of the characters going off to face this ice dragon. No one's really certain exactly what it is, but they've seen the white dragon and they're wondering what the heck they're going to do, and no one's been able to beat it for a long time. And obviously, there's some tensions rising and little facts that are just constantly being brought up and as little hints. Honestly, I'd almost say that this is on the level of, say, Promise Neverland, with subtly giving hints, being almost the master of Chekhov's gun. Because literally everything that is just briefly shown gets some payoff really quickly, and that is awesome. So first off, like I said, they face off against the White Dragon, which is revealed to be the mother frickin' Mist Dragon. For those of you who aren't fully aware of what the Mist Dragon is, it's an extremely hard boss that is found in a few of the games, but I personally have faced it in Final Fantasy XIV most of the time, and yeah, it's not fun. Basically, the dragon sends out this huge blast that will freeze everyone if you attack it while it's in its mist form. And it's hard. It's a hard boss to fight. But it is something that you are able to defeat. And it's actually really interesting because basically everyone's thinking it's just a dragon. We launch a full frontal attack against this thing and make sure that everything goes well. Yes, people are thinking that the main characters are not going to be able to do anything because they're weak and just recently were able to deal with a quarrel, but yeah, they are responsible for actually saving the entire party or the entire raid group. And Shogo is, I believe that. Why do I keep thinking that that's not his name when I'm doing this? But it is actually, his name is Shogo. I don't know why I keep thinking that it's not. But yeah, Shogo is responsible for one. He is the first one to actually be able to do any damage to it by launching a freaking arrow at it that has a bomb core on it. And then later, he's the one who's actually able to kill it because of the fact that he knows, oh shit, this is a mist dragon. We should not attack it while it's in its mist form. And once it releases that, then we go all out. And then when it returns to its mist form, we wait. And he did it so perfectly. The first time it goes into its mist form, a lot of the party members fall. But as soon as he realizes that it's a mist dragon, he instantly warns his friends not to attack, and saves their lives. And through that, they are actually able to single-handedly take down this dragon. And honestly, it's really a cool way that they handled it, because apparently no one died in this fight, which is really impressive because it looks like the guy we meet at the very beginning of it, of this bout, does die at the beginning of this bout. But nope, he's alive. So, yeah. But Shogo goes in with his group and saves everyone, even though the dragon is about to kill all of the healers and everyone who's already been injured. Once it leaves its mist form, Shogo is able to distract it long enough to throw a bomb into the frickin' dragon, killing it instantly, which is honestly so awesome. Honestly, I love this battle. It is one of the best ones. And why is this not animated yet? Because holy crap, if any series be- deserves an animation, this is it. So, yeah. We continue to see multiple cool instances. All of the characters are recovering. We see that whole incident, and that characters actually are really basically everyone who was involved is actually really thankful to Shogo, even though he did disobey some orders. But they are really thankful that he was there and was able to save the day. And yeah, and in return, he gets the frickin' dragon tooth necklace, which you can see on the back of this one. Which honestly, that's a really cool thing. So, yeah. But after they finish off with the dragon and everyone is finally recovered, they head off to a little town, a very important town. That being the Mysidia, the city of Mysidia. Yeah, it's a weird place, obviously. But basically, this is actually a town that's actually shown up in a few different Final Fantasies, apparently, because I didn't know that. But yeah, apparently, let me actually read this if I can. Yes. So in he actually explains that it is the nation of knowledge and magic from Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy 4, which I have not played those, so that's why I didn't know for sure which one it was. But yes, they go to Mystidia and they come across a whole bunch of people. First, running across a galley cat, which I'm actually really interested to see. I was actually very surprised about how they actually handled that. It was really interesting. I don't want to get into all of the details with that, but it was really cool to see how that worked. They make a new friend, they save her life, and they also have to deal with new enemies. Frickin' trio that has shown up in a few different Final Fantasies, none of which I've played, but yeah. Honestly, here's the thing that I actually really love about this series. While it is definitely a love letter to Final Fantasy fans who have played every game, you don't necessarily have to be someone who has played every single Final Fantasy game in order to understand what's going on in the story. Yes, they reference everything and they explain where things come from, but it's not actually super connected. So, oh, Pharrell, I don't really know what the best way to explain it is, but yeah, they they avoid actually telling anything super important. Basically, we know, based off of the reactions of Shogo, how dangerous things are, even if we haven't played these specific things. Like, I know what the Mist Dragon is because I've played Final Fantasy 14. I didn't play the game that it originally came from, but I did play 14. And that is an important thing. It doesn't necessarily alienate people. Yes, it does show certain things that were obviously from other games, but it only explains that these things were actually similar in the Final Fantasies that they specifically mention. But even if they didn't, people would still be able to understand what this story is. And honestly, I think that if someone who was brand new to Final Fantasy jumped in, I think that they could still understand it to a certain degree. Yes, they may be a little bit confused because of the fact that it's mentioning things that they've never heard of, but it's not but these things aren't used without some explanation. Like I said, Mysidia. That city, or that kingdom, is specifically mentioned that that was an extremely important city in Final Fantasy 2 and 4. But it's not necessarily super important to know that fact. If you if you might be like, "Oh, okay, so it's also there as well." I didn't know about it, but now I do, and that's really interesting to think about. And yes, this story is actually really good because not only, like I said, does it introduce tons of fans to all of these different characters and worlds and different species and stuff that were in the original Final Fantasies, but it also develops these characters to an insane degree. Each character has specific moments that show us who they are, and yeah, they are a little bit flat, but honestly, I think that this story is kind of just, it feels similar to any Final Fantasy, especially the early ones. I mean, a freaking Onion Knight, or like the Warrior of Light, or the Rose, I don't remember what his name is. These characters didn't necessarily have names, but they were there and they were heroes who saved the day multiple times. And through their sacrifices, they were able to do a lot of really cool stuff. And honestly, this game feels more and more like games like 7 or 9, where it's basic, where we get a little bit of information about these characters, but more of that information is going to come as we continue to play the game. And I love this. It's, is it the best manga that could have ever been written? No, not by a long shot. I mean, that spot still goes to Witch Hat Atelier. I'm sorry if you think that there's something better, but you're wrong. But this is definitely up there. In fact, I would actually put it at least in my top 10 manga, maybe even my top 5 manga. And if it ever got an anime adaptation, it would be right up there along with uh, My Hero Academia. And yeah, a lot of the other shows that I've mentioned in videos before. There's so much about this series that is so good and so well developed that not at least mentioning everything that's in it feels like a crime. Should this eventually get an anime adaptation? Abs-freaking-lutely. I've said before when talking about the World Ends With You anime that's coming out very soon, that this is going to be Square's test to basically see, will fans actually enjoy an anime based off of their games. By using The World Ends With You, they are actually doing a very good job. One, the story was a well worked out story that making a few changes here and there isn't necessarily going to piss too many fans off. And two, it's also one of those stories that not everyone's played. Compared to games like Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts, those games you have to be really cautious when entering into those. So, to make an adaptation of them. Because, like I said, a lot of fans love these series, but by testing the waters, by making an anime for a game that isn't extremely popular, but is still popular enough to get attention, it means that they can actually test the waters to see if fans would actually be willing to watch and fall in love with any other series. Could they make a Final Fantasy anime? Absolutely. After once they know that they can actually pull it off, I think that making Final Fantasy Lost Stranger into an anime is going to be a terrific idea that they will probably jump on once they know that they can actually pull it off. Making an anime version of Kingdom Hearts, again, great option. I would personally follow the manga a little bit more than following the book, or following the game, but that's mostly just because I actually really like how they handled the manga. I haven't read much of the manga, but they actually develop a lot of characters' stories a lot more in the manga than they do in the game. So, yeah, following the manga, great idea. Oh boy. So, yeah, honestly, once they know that they can actually pull this off, I think grabbing Kingdom Hearts 1's manga and making an anime adaptation off of it would be a fantastic idea that I think a lot of fans are really going to look forward to. Same goes for picking up Lost Stranger and choosing, hey, let's animate this into an amazing anime that a lot of fans, let me be very clear, a lot of fans are going to love this. Like, for those of you who aren't fully aware, there are two, well, technically more. There are two movies that really come to mind when people think Final Fantasy, if they're thinking of movies. The first is obviously that of Spirits Within, right? Yeah. No. Yes, Spirits Within. And the other is Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. Obviously, if you're a newer fan, then you might also think of Kingsglaive, which, let me be clear, that was an excellent movie. That, seriously, that was a really good movie. But those other two movies kind of failed when they were first coming out. But nowadays, fans will actually look back on them and say, you know, that was actually pretty good. And they did some really interesting things with them, especially Spirits Within, as it was basically its own Final Fantasy, and it was a good way to test the waters to see if making movies off of these things would actually be a good idea. And eventually they were able to take again Final Fantasy VII and make that into a movie with Advent Children, creating honestly a decent movie. Still pretty bad, all things considered, but it was still a movie that continued the story, and I know that there are fans who absolutely loved both of those movies. So, would they make so if they can actually pull off the success with The World Ends With You, then absolutely I think that they will succeed with other animes for other series, like I said, Kingdom Hearts and Lost Stranger. And I know this video has been a long one, and I've kind of gone on a rant for a bit about there being an anime adaptation for this, but seriously, there needs to be one. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, or if you're just, you're not new, but you're kind of been thinking about it, please subscribe. It really does help us out a lot. And of course, leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. And if you are going to leave a theory, make sure to say theory review somewhere in a comment. And of course, if you do want to support the channel even more, then definitely head down to the description and check out all of our links down there. I've just added the other two channels being major parts of the constant parts, I guess, of the description. So check out those two channels, as well as checking out all of our social medias and ways that you can support us financially, including our Patreon and our merch store. But anyways, guys, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. But on!